Welcome back to the Buzzworthy Consultant Podcast, where we chat with the leading thought leaders in the consulting industry. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Chris Salem, a leading expert in emotional intelligence, specializing in creating psychologically safe workspaces that drive engagement, retention, and productivity. He is also the best-selling author of Master Your Inner Critic and co-author of Mastering the Art of Success with Jack Canfield. In his spare time, he hosts the Sustainable Success podcast on Voice America Business and business influencers on TAL Radio, reinforcing his mission to drive transformative leadership and foster thriving, psychologically safe workplaces. Let's see what makes Chris so buzzworthy. Welcome to the show, Chris. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and please, all my friends call me Buzz, and
Buzz it is.
Where are you calling in from today?
I'm in the greater New York area. I'm in Connecticut, just about a little over an hour outside of New York City.
I love how Connecticut is part of the greater New York area. That is so interesting.
The western, the boot part of the state is. Yeah, if you tell people
not even in
Hartford,
the same
east of
state.
Hartford, they're in the Boston area. Yeah.
I lived in Illinois for a minute, and there is a East St. Louis, which is on the
Illinois border.
side.
Yeah.
Right. And then you cross the bridge and then you're improper. So I guess I could see that. And New York is kind of like this vortex that kind of sucks all the energy from around. It's so big.
Yes.
So speaking of anomalies, now I've heard Connecticut as the greater New York. I'm going to have to remember that now. But you work in the psychology of safe workspaces, which is a very interesting and yet very fitting thing to be an expert in nowadays. But what got you into this?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of people think I'm crazy for venturing into this space because, there's just a lot of people, especially in the beginning, that just never, could, connect the dots, so to speak, to see how this plays an important part in really streamlining people and processes, elevating people for higher team engagement, how it had an impact in increasing job retention, lowering job burnout, and impacting just about any key performance indicator that would be important to a business. So a lot of times the reason is just that a lot of people think short term. They're thinking of what do we have to achieve right now? They're not thinking long term. They don't realize not everybody is going to be on the same page. And the reason why there's a lot of challenges, or why challenges are escalated in most organizations, especially workplaces, is people just assume and speculate in their communication. There's a lot of miscommunication going on. There is not a clear definition of the role and duties. They just assume they know their role and duties. And every time I do an assessment in any size organization, when people have told me they would bet their life on that everybody knows our role and duties in this company. And every time I disprove that. And it's just common. And this is the reason why a lot of businesses are here and not here, because they haven't taken the time to really solidify that foundation. And I like to call it the EQ advantage. So that is the psychology around really elevating your workplace environment. And that can also be remote and carry out to your alliance partners to really take it to the next level.
I love it. It's like corporate emotional EQ. It's funny when you were talking about that, businesses that swear that everybody knows their responsibilities and their objectives. I think objectives of a job are overlooked, right?
Oh yeah.
We just need to get that stuff done. Well, that's not the objective of the job.
I thought you knew how to do this. That's what we hired you for.
Right. Well, and it's so you have, I look at it and help me help the audience understand this better. But as I've been hiring for my business for 20 years now. And one of the things I learned too late for some of the people that worked with me was you have your responsibilities, and then you have the objective of the actual position.
Mhm.
So like I'm hiring right now an integrated marketing operations officer, operations manager. Their duties are dealing with the marketing operations for our clients and supporting the internal marketing for the company. But the objective is to get moi, the CEO, out of the day to day of my company so I can work on my business. How often do you see people get those two either conflated or backwards or not even put in an objective like that for their folks?
All the time, Buzz. It's just, I mean, again, I'm not here to say, hey, you don't know that's everybody's doing it. So, I mean,
Right.
we're even talking Fortune 500 companies. So, this is not something that just happens to small businesses or small to mid-sized companies because there's a lack of resources. It's just, it's again, it's assuming. We just
Mm.
assume, and and a lot of times, think about like when you got a job. You had, when you applied for the job, there was the role and duties on that job, what you applied for. But oftentimes, once you get onboarded and you've been hired, those roles and duties pretty much go out the door. You don't even see them again. Everyone just assumes it's just like when you get onboarded and you get your benefits package. You know, you have a 401k and you're like, okay, how much can I? But then they tell you, oh, you have benefits where you can get counseling, or you can, if you go through a really difficult time, you could use your benefits for emotional well-being or other types of services. I didn't know I
Mm.
had that. Yeah, it was
Mm.
in your onboarding. I said, well, because everyone just says it one time and that's it.
Mm.
It doesn't get
Mm.
brought up again. People don't realize how important this is and how important emotional intelligence first as the foundation, then how we can effectively communicate, among other things that I'll share here today, how that can take your organization from here to here even when I say in a short period of time, I'm not saying in a few months, but like in a year or more, how you could see a dramatic shift for those companies that commit from the top down to that.
I agree with you. I mean, as a small business owner myself, and I've been a chief marketing officer for a professional football team, which had a lot of different types of people. You had the
Oh yeah,
office side, and then you had the coaches
players.
side, and then you had the player side. So you had like three different types of people in one organization. And it's amazing how easily players forgot what their job was.
Oh yeah.
Not just playing on the field, but what their job was off the field,
Oh
right?
yeah, to be that role model that a lot of times they forget to do. Yeah, no doubt.
Right? You're a spokesperson for the team. The logo that's on that logo has to stand for something. And when you do something outside of the culture, outside of the core values of the company, that affects that logo. And that logo is everything when it comes to sports, right? So, as small businesses, I think that we overlook the need for this because we don't have professionals. We don't have HR professionals that are to even think about this stuff, let alone have the bandwidth to do it. So what's the secret to helping, the founders of say a team of 10 or 12 where they don't have an HR professional helping them through this stuff?
So it really has to start with awareness first. You got to
Mm.
start with your own self. So emotional intelligence always starts with self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So if when people can begin to realize that, when they can understand this first premise of emotional intelligence, self-awareness is understanding your own emotions. If you
Mm.
can't understand your own emotions, how could you understand someone else to know how to adapt how you communicate to them effectively
Mm.
to build more engagement? So the key is, number one, you have to understand your emotions. What are you operating from most of your day from? How do you make your what emotion do you make your decisions from? How do you execute on your tasks? What emotion is that from? I know for me it was anger for the first 31 years of my life. Even though I'd have a smile on my face and I would say all the right things, I was operating from anger. And it was those negative emotions that were coming across to people in a passive communicative way, which meant I
Mm.
said yes to a lot of people because I wanted to please them, wanted them to validate me because I went out of my way to help them, only to cause them to be stuck, stagnant, dependent on me. And then I was upset because I didn't get to what was important to me. So
Mm.
it just created more of this tension and friction, and eventually we would have conflict.
Mm.
This is happening all the time. Or I could have been aggressive in my communication where I had a tendency of being a perfectionist. I could talk down to people. I had a hard time
Mm.
delegating. And because I had a hard time delegating, if I was forced to delegate, I didn't trust people could do it to the level I could do it. So I would micromanage them. So you can
Mm.
see how these things play out. So you got to understand your own emotions first, then you can understand others. Number two, you got to also understand what you can control and what you can't control.
Mm.
So here's the thing, what you can't control. I'll throw it into two buckets. You can't control other people in situations. Plain and simple. The only thing you could control with other people in situations on some level is if you know somebody's toxic up front, okay, I can limit my time around them or eliminate my time around them. I can do
Mhm.
that. Or
Mhm.
if it's a certain environment that just doesn't not conducive to my productivity or efficiency, I could also limit my time there or remove myself. But I can't control 100% of another person, people, or a situation.
Mm.
There's only one thing I can control, a bucket in this case. There are many things you can control in that bucket, and that's yourself.
Mm.
See, I can control my communication to myself
Mm.
and others. Am
Mhm.
I being assertive versus passive aggressive in my communication? I have to be assertive to myself every morning. That means I have to be specific, clear, and concise. What am I good at? What am I not good at? What do I have to delegate? What do I keep for myself within my strength to execute on? So then I know how to communicate in an assertive way to another person. I'm operating from my inner champion than my inner critic. Number two is my behavior. Is my behavior in alignment with my communication? See, I was a passive aggressive in my first 31 years. I was passive in my communication, but my behavior was aggressive because I could explode and get angry very quickly with people when I wasn't validated, where I felt like I went out of my way to help them, do it for them, but they
Mhm.
didn't appreciate or it was not to their level of expectation. So that behavior contradicted my communication. It has to be assertive, just like your communication is. My attitude, you could control your attitude. There's always going to be challenges and obstacles around you. It's inevitable.
Mhm.
And think about, is anything that you've accomplished in your business, customer milestones that you had, was it because everything went right? No, it was because you embraced the challenge. You went through a difficult time and then thus got better results on the back end. So we have to see challenges, obstacles, setbacks, problems as opportunities. We have to
Mhm.
embrace them rather than resist them. If you could be the leader and lead by example and be resourceful to help people do for themselves, that could be contagious over time to lend itself to creating an interdependent work environment, not a codependent one. Number four is our emotions. We have positive and negative emotions. There's nothing wrong with the negative emotion. Matter of fact, it's a good thing. Because if I'm angry, that means that I have something inside me that's unresolved. That's what that negative emotion's sharing with me. You have something unresolved that you're responsible to find out and overcome. But I don't have to react from that anger. See, I can be angry if somebody says something to me and not react and say something I shouldn't have said or sent that email that I shouldn't have sent. I can now pause. I can take a breath. I can maybe take 10-minute break, come back, maybe sleep on it before I respond in a favorable way to that person or people through email or in person. Big difference responding versus reacting. I'm responding from a positive emotion, even though the initial one was negative. And number five is my action. Is my action in alignment with my communication, behavior, attitude, emotions? It's not, then I'm contradicting everything. And I got to be laser focused on the priorities that matter. If I anticipate my team to step up in their role and duties, then I
Mhm.
got to do the same in my role and duties as the example, as a leader, and be resourceful. So for those organizations that I encourage them to learn how to focus on what they can control, that is themselves in the moment from intentions, not in the past and the future tied to other people and situations through expectations. Expectations are beyond your control. Intentions are in your control. It's a different frame of thinking. And that's what EQ is. When you can learn to operate from intentions in the moment focused on what you can control, be an example, be a resource, and now work with smaller levels of people at a time to help them make that shift. That's where you can see a dramatic improvement with, workplace environment, changing the culture and elevating team performance through more effective understanding of role and duty. So there's a lot more to share, but I know I said a lot and I want to leave you to provide input or ask another question from there.
Well, no, I mean, I feel like you got you wrapped it all up in a nice five sided dice, if you will.
Yeah.
And you're just rolling them out, and going, what are the things that I can control? I think
Yeah.
that for me, I'm reflecting on probably my first 12 years in business, where looking back, I could say that I operated out of fear, which
A lot to do. Yeah.
yeah, and you can have that huge imposter syndrome, and so the fear was fed all through. Like, well, I'm not good at. Who am I to be this? Say that we're the best, or be growing the way we were growing. I mean, you name it, I had it, right? And mine came out in anger. It would reflect it as an anger, not fear, because I was
Yeah.
hiding. So instead of the pleaser, I was the aggressor.
The
Because
aggressor.
I didn't want anybody to think I was anything else than the alpha in my company, right?
And most usually business owners are, and the disc profile are high Ds, task
Yeah,
oriented, want results. So the emotional intelligence takes the back seat because it's really about the tasks and the
yeah,
results, then the people. Whereas
right.
I's are
Mhm.
leaders, but are more people centric, and they lead more with the people involved, then the task to get the
Yeah,
results. So fear
I
is
used to
just
be
a
that.
byproduct of being in the past and the future, and operating from expectations of yourself and others rather than your intentions.
Oh,
That's all it is.
and I was what's the S?
In disc steadiness.
Oh, steadiness. No, it was the I. So I flip-flopped over the years from DI to ID. And
Yes.
now, it's weird because I went from a brick and mortar, and in 2019 we went completely remote. And so now I'm working through people that I'm working with people that I don't see every day. Sometimes I don't even talk to them for weeks, like maybe in emails and stuff. But like what you and I are doing, there's one of my employees I haven't done that with, and they've been with us for 2 months. Right.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh man, I need to get on the horn with this person and like talk to them, just let them know that I'm here and I'm personable. And I'm, for a lot of folks, they like the laid back, and we're a meritocracy. So our culture is about, you work like you own the place. Like, I don't
Yeah.
need to babysit you to do this. But I'm also to this space now. My EQ comes from this space of people are awesome until they're not. And
Yes.
at some point, every person is not going to be awesome, whether it's their life situation changing, their mindset has changed, their health has changed, or they die.
Yeah.
Right? It's one of those four that's going to do it. Right? And so it's
Correct.
like, and like you said, we don't have control over that. And I can't remember whose book it was that said that basically people are coming through your life. As a business owner, people will come through your business, right? And as the longer you go, the more people who will have come and gone through your business. And it has most times doesn't have a reflection of who you are. It's just that they have a different path, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we look at like resumes is like, how long do people stick around in their jobs? Nowadays, you're lucky to see people stick around for 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
If somebody's like 20 years in, they're like, well, what are you doing now? You're starting over, right? It's like, why did you leave after 20 years? That's a pretty big deal.
Oh, no. But there are some organizations out there, like one of my former clients he was a cardiovascular surgeon, had run a outpatient. Well, I wouldn't even say he's even outpatient. It was like he ran a center. He has locations throughout the state of Connecticut
Hmm.
where normally you would have to go into an outpatient type of area or even to the hospital to get these procedures done. He
Mm,
was able to do it like you were just going to the doctor's office for a 45-minute checkup.
that's cool.
Now, when he started this about 15 years now, he still has his original staff
Oh, that's
with him.
awesome.
How many places can honest see again, but he operated from empathy and kindness. He
Mhm.
operated with these EQ principles where
Mhm.
at the time he didn't even know he was even doing it. It was just something in him.
Right.
He cared about his people
Mhm.
before anything else. The results, the success
Mhm.
of this place was a byproduct of the people that he built. And those people didn't move because there was a, because there was a better, they loved being there. He tapped into some level into their purpose. He understood them. He created a psychologically safe workplace.
Mm.
And Zappos is another example of an organization that there's that, and that's why it's no coincidence that reflects outward, and they are in the top 5 for customer service each and every year. So this isn't something that people are born with or it's innate in them. It's something we could all learn, but we have to be open and we have to know that it's not going to happen overnight. We got to trust the process. And again, where does it start? It starts with you here and starting with you. And that's what I always do with organization. I start with the business owner. We work from the
Mm.
top down and work in smaller groups
Mm.
to work it over a period of time where it becomes now it becomes ingrained in them. They can start to make
I love
that
it.
shift emotionally, physically, even spiritually, across many different levels of well-being in order to operate and now communicate better,
Right.
make better decisions, take more calculated risks,
Mhm.
and so on. And that's where you start to see a reflection in the better customer experiences,
Mhm.
better performance metrics, higher team engagement, all of the above. And
Right.
numbers don't lie. So
Right. And so is there a resource that you suggest people like when we're talking about EQ? It's got to start with EQ. I
yeah.
agree with that. I've read a couple books on EQ and it's an ongoing process, right? You're never going to master EQ. So if somebody's never even heard of EQ, is there a resource that you suggest or maybe even offer yourself that where they could get started?
Yeah, I mean, I have resources, but I mean, I would just start with the classic book of Daniel Goleman. I mean, he was the founder and godfather of emotional intelligence, the book that came out back now. Oh my God, it's been probably 32 years now the book has been out. But
What's
it
the name?
really didn't start to really take off until, maybe into the 2000s. But with that being said, I would start there with just getting yourself familiar with the four or the four. Well, some people will say there's 4 and some people will say there's 5. Either one, 4 or 5 cornerstones of emotional intelligence.
Mm.
Learn about self-regulation, learn about self-awareness, self-regulation, learn more about clarity or empathy and kindness, learn more about motivation, which is really discipline and consistency of doing things that you normally would not like to do, but it's serving you to fill your cup to be a better leader by example.
Mm.
And then really developing your relationship skills with yourself first, then others, and how you can build better rapport, trust, and then eventually respect. Just wrap your head around that for a little bit, and then from there, learning what you can control, what you can't control, learning how to operate from intentions rather than expectations. And when you can now learn to operate, not that you're going to be free of fear, but the fear will be reduced. You can learn now to become a better communicator to yourself and others, a better decision maker, a better risk taker, a better performer in what you do. And all these are a byproduct of emotional intelligence as a foundation. Think of it like that you're building a strong foundation for your home, the home that your dream home. It's got to have a strong foundation for it to sit on if it's going to last a long time or be free of major problems, because nobody takes time to cultivate the foundation. Everyone just wants the result and doesn't take time to cultivate the foundation that will now build it, execute on it, and then sustain it. That's key. That's where EQ comes in.